What are the responsibilities of a leader, and how on earth do you motivate the team to achieve a desired outcome? How are you today? I know that you're better than good. Eli's dad here. We're going to continue with our lessons on leadership in Project Eli as we educate, lead, and inspire. And if you're absent for this lesson, I'm going to need a note from your mother. Now let's begin this session by asking, what are the responsibilities of the leader? The leader must always remember that he or she is a servant to those that are being led. Let me make a confession to you. I have no idea what it takes to make a motor run. I do know that when I turn the key, my car engine will start. My point is that it is not important that I know every little detail about the engine to drive the car. Fortunately for me, somebody already figured that out, and I'm the beneficiary of their knowledge. The same thing is true about leadership. You, Eli, already know from the Blueprint for Success that having a vision is the key to accomplishment. Remember that most of the people, typically 19 out of 20 that you work with, do not either know this universal law or choose not to make use of it. The first responsibility of the leader is to be an Imagineer for your team. The team process of Imagineering is a bit different than that used for the individual to be successful, but there are many similarities as well. Once again, I will utilize the words and wisdom of Simon Sinek to illustrate my point. You see, there are two different ways to motivate. One is manipulate. The leader who uses manipulation generates an employee pool of sheepwalkers. Sheepwalking is the outcome of hiring people who have been raised to be obedient and giving them brain-dead jobs and enough fear to keep them in line. These are the people that constantly watch the clock, go to the bathroom 15 minutes before the end of the day on company time, and back their cars in the parking lot facing out so that they can make a quick getaway. Not a fun place to work. Passionless. The second type of motivation is inspiration. People do things because they want to do them to further a particular cause, goal, dream, or effort that they bought into. They're all in, passionate. So now, Mr. Eli, Mr. Leader, how do you motivate your team? Once again, let us learn from Bob Anderson. When I went to work for his company, the carrot was that I would be a manager trainee. Selling insurance, not very exciting. When I went to the job interview, what I was sold was a management position with the promise of a very nice income. What got me excited was that they had a product that I could believe in, a retirement vehicle for the masses, and a clearly designed roadmap to follow that would lead me from point A to point B to point C. The final destination was to be the manager of my own office. Now, being a puppy at that time, it seemed like a good opportunity. It was. In order to manage my own office, I would have to learn the product, how to sell the product, how to teach others to sell the product, how to become a leader, how to teach others to become a leader, and how to attract, train, and motivate others. It was a step-by-step process that consumed me because at each stage of the journey, I had a specific goal to achieve in order to move up to the next step on the road to management. We had meetings every day. We were taught and trained in baby steps. Remember the peso system that I showed you earlier. But most importantly, we were spoon-fed the dream every day on the big goal, managing your own office. Keeping the big dream in your face every day is key because there's always going to be little failures. With the big dream front and center all the time, little failures are merely bumps in the road and not roadblocks. They become lessons to be learned, not disappointments. Do you see the similarity to the success blueprint? The vision was, where else can you go where you'll be trained and supported and have your own office in a location of your choosing, where the home office will pay for the office space, your administrative assistant, newspaper advertising, and all the supplies that you need to operate. That dream was sold to us every day. I was all in. It became my passion. Now keep in mind, Eli, that I didn't even know who Bob Anderson was until about 6 months after I started. It was he that set up the structure for everything. I finally did meet him when the company had an office in Oklahoma City that had failed, but they still had a year's rent paid. One day I got the call. "Eli's dad, would you go to Oklahoma and restart that office?" Opportunity. I met Bob at the airport and he started in on me right away. He was relentless, tough, old school. We physically reopened the office, but he could only stay for a couple of days because he was a VP in charge of 20 or 25 offices that we had. It took me 4 weeks to get the office off the ground before I went back to Santa Cruz, California. The home office was thrilled, but all I had really done in my mind was what I was trained to do. A couple of weeks later, I called Bob and told him I was bored and I wanted a new challenge. Well, I was sent to Cincinnati under similar circumstances to the Oklahoma scenario, and fortunately, I was able to duplicate the results. The home office was thrilled again. Excuse me. Bob asked me if I'd like to come to West Palm Beach, live in his house for a while, and work my butt off from sunlight to midnight. I jumped at the opportunity. I learned so much from this man. He literally started every day by yelling at me and keeping me on edge, beginning with breakfast. I was with him and his wife for 2 months, and the constant feedback he gave me was educational and inspiring, even when it was negative feedback. Remember, Eli, as a leader, feedback is the breakfast of champions. After I had achieved the goal of elevating the West Palm office from the ground floor and boosting our Miami office, it was finally decided that I should have my own office. Bob suggested that one of his favorite cities was Minneapolis. You see, the company wanted an open office there. "Nice try, Bob," I told him, "but I need San Diego." I got San Diego. I earned it. About 3 years after taking over San Diego, our office production qualified me to become a divisional vice president. That meant managing multiple offices in Detroit and Indianapolis. I was fortunate that the roadmap to success was all laid out for me. There were some detours, but the road to success always has those. I was following the blueprint for success that I laid out for you previously without even knowing it. The laws of the universe work for you whether you're using them consciously or unconsciously. Bob Anderson's mantra was, share the vision and sell the dream. He found himself a thoroughbred, grabbed me tightly by the reins, dug in his spurs, and rode me into management. Now, one of the reasons that Mr. Anderson's strategy to develop leaders and open new offices was successful was that it married the company's expansion ambitions to the personal ambition of the management trainee. This is an important congruency of interest to wrap your leadership technique around. When an individual can see their progress tied to the progress of the business, whether financial rewards are involved or not, it provides inspiration and another key element, momentum. When a business has momentum, small potholes are easily overcome by the big vision. It's like a train traveling at 100 miles an hour running over a barrier on the track. Boom! It goes right through the barrier. And if the train is at rest, a small block of wood in front of one of the wheels keeps the train standing still. Inspiration leads to the right kind of motivation, which leads to momentum. Now let's talk about inspiring your leaders and your employees. How do you do it? We go right back to asking why. Why are we in business? Now, I'm not talking about making a profit. That's a result. What is it that we provide our customers that make them want to offer us their money or their time in exchange for what we provide? Now, for the Disney company, it is making people happy. For Apple, it is providing interesting and innovative products. For the U.S. government, it is security, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In fact, isn't the Constitution a document about how we're going to provide this vision of government? When you figure out what you stand for, you then create the vision that you want to accomplish. Here we go again, creating a vision. Again, a vision is the key to progress. When you feel like you're making progress, that is when you are most alive and most passionate. It's when life is most inspiring. You're pursuing a worthy goal with extreme vigor. If only you can motivate your team. If only you can inspire them. How do you do that? Simple. You get them to inspire themselves. You've got to get your team to the base of the mountain so that they can take a peek at the peak. Make your vision huge. Remember, if you want to get to the top of the mountain, the peak, you must create the right climate before you climb it. If we don't consciously plant the seeds of what we want in the gardens of our minds, we will end up with weeds. If we want to discover the unlimited possibilities within us, we must find a goal big enough and grand enough to challenge us to push beyond our limits and discover our true potential. We all must create a magnificent obsession. A productivity dispatcher was sent to a construction site in France during the Middle Ages to interview the laborers. He approached the first worker and asked, "What are you doing?" "What, are you blind?" the worker snapped back. "I'm cutting these impossible boulders with primitive tools and putting them together the way the boss tells me. I'm sweating under this blazing sun, it's backbreaking work, and it's boring me to death." The dispatcher quickly backed off and retreated to a second worker. He asked the same question, "What are you doing?" The second worker replied, "I am shaping these boulders into usable blocks, which are then assembled according to the architect's plans. It's hard work, and sometimes it gets repetitious, but I earn 5 francs a week, and that supports my family." Somewhat encouraged, the dispatcher went on to a third worker. "And what are you doing?" he asked. The third worker beamed. He stood up and he lifted his arms to the sky. "Why, can't you see?" he said proudly. "I'm building a cathedral." That story illustrates the power of long-term goals to pull us through the tedious routine of day-to-day activity. On a grander scale, it's a story about vision. We might define vision as a picture of the future or as the ability to create such a picture. This ability is an essential quality of a leader. It's the heart of a successful organization. An organization must have a vision of what it is, what it stands for, what it hopes to accomplish, and how it plans to go about accomplishing these objectives. These things define the organization's overall purpose, its very reason for existing. Without a meaningful vision, an organization cannot survive. Quick summary. To motivate your team properly, it is essential that they share a worthy vision, a magnificent obsession to be strived for. Ideally, you want to marry the company's progress, its goals and objectives, to the advancement of the individuals on the team. In that way, the company's progress and the individual's progress are congruent and can be measured. The superior way to accomplish this end is through inspiration rather than manipulation. After all, who wants to work at an entity inhabited by sheepwalkers? As the leader, the Imagineer, Eli, it is incumbent upon you to formulate the vision that inspires everyone. Now, Eli, now you have the what you need to do. And in our next session, once again with the help of Mr. Cynic, I will give you the how to get your people to inspire themselves. To ensure that you don't miss that session, make sure you are subscribed and ring the bell. If you'd like to develop others to be leaders, share this info with them as well. Also, don't forget to review the description box below, as I always tell you. Our saying for today is derived from those that lead through manipulation. If you have 10,000 regulations, you destroy all respect for the law. And because we never end a meeting on a philosophical note, get out there and charge. I'm Eli's dad.